Hey there, drone fans. Rick here again from Drone Valley. In today's clip, I'm excited to tell you that the brand new Air 2S works perfectly fine with your smart controller. Now, before the Air 2S hit the market, there was a ton of speculation out there about how it was going to be based on O3 or OcuSync 3, and the smart controller, as we all know, is OcuSync 2. So people were saying, well, there's no way it's going to work with it if it's OcuSync 3, and I was kind of holding out a little bit because I didn't get this one early. I bought it when you guys bought it, and I thought, okay, the OcuSync 2 and OcuSync 3 uses very similar transmission technologies. There's a different algorithm about how they jump between the frequencies, but fundamentally they're the same transmission technology. It's 2.4, 5.8 gigahertz. So I said, don't sell DJI short. There's probably a way they can update the smart controller to OcuSync 3 to be able to talk to this drone. Well, it turns out they went a completely different direction. So if you check the specifications, you'll find that with the Air 2S, the video feedback is O3, but the telemetry control is over OcuSync 2. So the minute I saw that, I thought, I got to test the smart controller. So sure enough, I booted up the smart controller yesterday, and there was an over-the-air update. And that over-the-air update enabled this particular Air 2S as a drone of choice inside of my aircraft control screen. So I couldn't wait to get outside and put this guy in the yard and fly it a little bit. And sure enough, I can control it completely. Now, this may seem basic to you because you may have seen the announcement, you've seen the release notes and such, but a lot of people are going to miss it. And again, I know I get excited about this kind of stuff, but when you think about a company like DJI that released this a couple years ago and is still perfectly fine with modifying it, adapting it, and changing it over the air with just software changes to accommodate new drones, just think of the value of that product. It flies a lot of different technologies. So I love that, but I also love the nerdy side of it because there's an engineer someplace, I guarantee you, buried in the bowels of the research labs over at DJI that said, you know what, I can do that. Why don't we do that? Let me just modify the software and we'll take care of that problem for you. All right, so enough of me gushing about this particular issue, but I love the fact that I can fly it with the controller it came with. I love it even more that I can bring this controller and fly all my drones that are capable to fly with that smart controller. Anyway, now let me tell you what you got to do. It's pretty straightforward, but there's two things that have to happen. There's a new version of software out for the smart controller, and there's a new version of software out for the Air 2S, which was released the day it came out. And I'll give you those numbers now. So on the drone, 02-04-16-40, and you should be prompted to do that download the minute you open up the application. On the smart controller, there's two things to keep in mind. The first one is you need to be on version 01.01.00.40, but there's a caveat. If you haven't updated your smart controller in a while, you're on an older version of it. If you're older than version 01.00.04.75, you can't do the over-the-air update. There were some major changes right after that can't be done over the air. So if you've got a really old version on your smart controller, connect it up to your computer, download the DJI Assistant 2 application, and push the firmware to it through a cable. You can't do that over the air. But the cool thing is, if you're later than that, both of these updates take place over the air, and then immediately you can see it, you can bind it, and you can fly it. Now, one other thing you need to know, and this is something a lot of people complain about, but I totally understand it, is the relationship they develop between the controller and the drone, whether it be this one or this one, is a very aggressive relationship. So when they pair up, they're paired up for life. They're like those birds that pair for life. They're going to stay paired. And people complain, well, when I'm using the smart controller, how come I have to repair every time I choose a different drone? It's because that relationship, that monogamous relationship is binding. They're not going to give it up. So it can't, it's not, but it's not polygamy. It's not going to have multiple controllers paired up to it at the same time. I'm not making any judgment about that, but it can't do that. It can only be one or the other. So when you boot it up over here, if you've got this paired to, say, a Mavic 2 Pro or Mavic 2 Zoom or a P4 Pro V2, you have to repair it. And that's not that big a deal. You hold the button down for 5 seconds, it starts beeping, it pairs up, and you're up and flying. So what did that take you, 15 seconds? So quit complaining about that. I don't think they're ever going to change it to where it can be a polygamist kind of a relationship with multiple controllers, but that's the two things you need to do. Update the firmware. If you've got older firmware, do the update in the controller with the DJI 2 Assistant. If you've got newer firmware, it'll do an over-the-air update, which is beautiful. Do the update here. You should immediately see it on your screen, like I'm showing you now, that it's one of the choices you can have in your aircraft control screen. Pair it up and go out and fly and have a lot of fun. Now, I've got a ton more clips that I'm working on. I've been testing a lot of different things. One of the other things I'm trying really hard to figure out, and I know they've kind of teased this already, is in my simple mind, if you're using OcuSync 3 for the video transmission back to my phone over here, wouldn't be that hard to extend that to the brand new V2 FPV goggles that are out there, right? So I'm testing them out like crazy. I haven't found a hack yet. Believe me, the nerd in me is going crazy and the gears are turning. I'm going to figure something out. And there's probably an update coming for the goggles in a couple of days that'll enable that. So I'll put a clip together and explain that. But for today, this is really cool. So do it, get outside and fly with it and just have a lot of fun. It's springtime. It's time to be flying drones. So anyway, thanks a lot for watching. Oh, by the way, if you need any 2S accessories or anything like that, we've got chargers and cables and all kinds of cool things for it. I've got a link below where you can find those on our website. We ship every day. I'll get it to you faster than Amazon. And we just love the support you guys are showing us. I've also got a link down there for the Air 2S. So if you haven't snapped one of these up yet, please use that link. That'll help support the channel and we'll love you forever. So that's good stuff. Anyway, that's it for today. If you have any questions about any of this stuff or anything I talk about, drop them in the comments below. I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. And until next time, happy flying.